Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Wednesday, January the 2nd. Happy 2013. Hope everyone had a great new year. And if you started back to trading, hope you had a good trading day. It was kind of a odd day today. I'll show you what I saw. I only came in and took one trade, and then I spent the rest of the day just doing some office stuff that needed taken care of around here since I've been gone. And I really didn't like this price action. You can see there wasn't much happening from just after the open until right before the close, um, maybe the last hour of the market today. But I'll show you what I saw. I'll show you the trade I took and what I saw, and um, and I'll probably do a couple of these this week. I'll be taking off Friday. My kids don't go back to school until next week, so I'm still technically on vacation. I'm just starting to get a little bored, and just wanted to kind of get out of the house, so I came by today. Took a one trade this morning, and then I just kind of called it quits. But I'll show you what I saw again, and and we may do one or two. One tomorrow. Doubt I'll do one Friday. We're going to be going out of town again starting on Friday for the weekend. So I may do one more tomorrow. We'll just have to see how the week kind of shakes out and go from there. But I thought I'd go ahead and do one today. Probably real brief here. I'm just going to show you the trades real quick, show you the one I took, and make it real quick. But I want to get something out there since it's been a couple of weeks, and just want to let everybody know what was going on. I really missed the big rally was New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, I'm sorry. And you can see we had a nice rally, lots of setups. Look at all those pullbacks to the EMA, second entries. Really nice day. But I missed it. I was off enjoying the day, wasn't trading, so no big deal. Made a little money today, but we'll get back and get busy with it full time next week. And again, may do a chart lesson tomorrow, and maybe even one Friday because we're not leaving until Friday afternoon. So I may do a quick one, or maybe do a trade example or something. Just depends on whether I come in or not. We'll have to see. But let's back out here and look at today's trades. And like I said, we'll get through this pretty quickly. When I came in, we were in this channel. We had this big gap. A lot of times these gaps will get filled. You can see it didn't. It probably won't be long until it does get filled. Wouldn't surprise me if we don't fill it tomorrow. We'll just have to see. There's a lot of stuff going on financially, uh, economically, with the physical cliff and all that, and we just don't know how it's going to affect the market. And you don't want to be trying to guess anyway, so just follow the price action and do what it tells you to do and go from there, and you'll be a whole lot better off. So, uh, but anyway, we came in, we had this channel, and I really drew my line off the top first and then drug it down to the lows, and that set up this long here. There was actually a short you could have taken here because it's a failed break above this little double top. It's really on a bigger picture, it's a second entry short. You got your first leg up, then a move down, your second leg tries to go up, it fails. And so you could have shorted that, but because everything is up, it's really dangerous shorting, so I didn't mark it. You're better off to wait. I didn't take the trade. I waited till we got this set up here. Uh, you could have gone long above this bar or this bar, and really it was a little more aggressive to take this one, but that's the best setup because it's coming right off that trend line. We got that trend line from this channel here. But if you didn't go long right here, and notice we went one tick lower below that bar right there, turned up, closed almost on its high. So I went long. Actually, when it broke up there, I dropped a limit order one tick back into there, and I just did get filled by a single tick. And it actually went another tick lower, or a couple of ticks lower, and then it started back up. So this was a great place to add on if you wanted to. So I just added another load there. So I had a double load on this move, and so that gave me quite a few runners to run up here. And that made me, even though it's the only trade I took today, it turned out to be a fairly nice setup, and you can see that right there. And so hopefully you saw this trade, and that's a nice move. Then we formed this double top. We did get a break of the trend line here. That's good enough to be considered a break. And then we got a double top, and we corrected. But even if that wasn't, this was definitely enough break. But I believe that we had a break here and a new high with a double top. That's a reversal pattern after the break of the trend line. So you might have even thought about going short right there, but it's a little risky trying to enter this quickly without without some kind of confirmed trend line of some kind. And so I didn't like that one. But when we made the lower low here and then came up and made the lower high and had that big reversal bar, you just couldn't almost ignore that. And so it was a nice place to go short right there. Really what you should have done was try to drop your limit order back in here so you get within your 2-point stop. And you had to stick this one out, but it continued to work lower. And by the time you got this pullback, you should have had this trend line in place. There's another bounce off the trend line, another easy move down, then another two-legged move back with another big reversal bar, place to go short right here. And notice we did get the break here as well. And then you got one leg down, a correction, and a second leg down. And I haven't looked at it, but I believe they're pretty close to being a measured leg. There's leg one, and there's leg two. We missed it by a tick or so there. But that's pretty obvious. And then we went into what was really a trading range, but it was really kind of had this slant to it here as well. So there were a couple of different ways to get at this right here. There really weren't any good setups on the short side, because by the time you got a good setup, you were almost back to the high. You did have a nice short right here. That's a double top. It's a one-tick failed break higher. You can see that. A big reversal bar. You go short right there. It took a little bit, but it ended up getting, it's very rare those trades probably won't get there 4 ticks, and it had to really fight to get down there, but it got it. And then by the time that finished, it was very obvious we were in a trading range then. And again, coming off this low, it's, there's no good setup to get long, and really the bias is down still. So you got to be careful about going long unless you get a really good setup. And then you got another short here. You got these matching highs across here. You might have had this up here by that point. It's a failed break higher. If you were drawing this trend line and then you drag it up, it's a bounce off that trend line. You got this nice bearish bar. So a couple reasons to go short there. Again, it got just enough to get your scalp, and then it reversed. And so that really turns this into a breakout pullback long. There's enough room to scalp out before you get back to these highs. So this wasn't the best bar. It didn't end perfectly. But when you got another bar going higher and it closed on its high, you're going long towards the highs up here. But again, this is a breakout pullback long. And notice that it bounced right off the line right there on the pull when this bar pulled back. So you could have gotten long back in this bar. I really probably should have made this one green. It's not a perfect setup, but if you saw it, it really led to a great move, and it is a breakout pullback long. It's if you look, you were making higher highs each time up here, or higher lows and higher highs. And when we didn't make it back to this trend line, you don't know that we're not going to break up here and come back and make another leg. So that's another reason it makes it a little bit questionable. I don't know if I'd have taken this trade with my setup, but you may have a better bar in here, some kind of better trap. And it is a second entry trap. You got your move up, there's your first tick lower, and then a second leg. So this is a second entry short. It's not really a failure because it worked, but we didn't come back down and test these lows. So there's a few reasons to think, you ought to be looking at that long right there. And if you saw it and took it, you can see what it was worth. Again, I don't know that with my setup on my chart, I would have caught that. I doubt it, especially when we've been short, because I would have been thinking about exiting my shorts here, my runners. And so just something to consider, but it definitely fits our pattern if you want to be an aggressive trader. trying to catch these kind of moves. And one other thing, if you took this trend line right here and you copied it and drug it up here, well, maybe that's, somehow I had this, and let me back out a little bit and look at this again. I don't remember how I did that, but I had a trend line. Maybe I had it more like that right there. That's probably what I had, because if you look at that, it fits. And then if you carried it up here and dropped it in there, that's right where we got the turn this afternoon. So that's how I got this line up here. This line was shorter when I drew and replaced it with. It looks the same, but when you put it up here, it's not nearly the same angle. Let me change that. Still get the same thing, but anyway, let me see what this one. Well, you don't quite get the trend channel that way, and that makes this trade, you know, I kind of like that better, and that gives you more incentive to take this trade because you're coming off the line and you haven't gotten up here. So yeah, I just didn't quite have that little channel drawn right. But originally I must have had this line right because I used that to find these highs up here, and that's exactly where this turned. So we kind of got a, I think maybe it's a possibility there's a bigger channel going here, with these being your lows and these being your highs up here. So something to watch out for there. And by drawing it that way, that definitely sets up that long for a completely different setup right there. I really like that long now, and I probably would have taken it if I'd had it drawn just exactly like that. So, but anyway, that's, you know, sometimes, usually when you draw your lines, you don't have to be exact, and you end up in the same place. But that's an example of one where if you didn't get it quite right, then you may not have noticed that, you may not have made that trade as strong right there. But you might have had a better setup bar than mine. I had that stem right there, and I just didn't like that because you got a little bit of overlap here, and these are dojis, so it was a little questionable going long there the way I originally had my chart drawn. But now that it's coming off that possible trend line that we bounced off of 1, 2, now 3 times, I really like it. So something to think about. But anyway, that was it, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Like I said, we'll get back into things full time next week. I just wanted you to see what I saw, and the big thing you got to do is always make sure you draw your channels and your support and resistance, and that's going to help you. That's how you're going to find your trades, because if you take this line off right here and this line off right here, I mean, you know, you can see that there's still you know, you're working higher and coming off the EMA, but you probably wouldn't spot that trade right there without drawing your lines. And even if you just came down here and drew it off your first 2 swings, it's still your first break, and you could have, well, shoot, you could have found it that way too. And you see that fits pretty good up through there. We kind of got a lower side of the channel here. But even if you'd have drawn it off those first 2 swings, no reason you shouldn't have found that trade right there. It's the first break of the trend line. Still a nice setup there. And you might have even come down here, let me show you this, and come off these first 2 bars. Let me make it bigger so we can. When you get these gaps, sometimes it makes it really hard. But you see, I drew that right off those first 2, the lows of those swings, and look, that finds this setup as well. So there's different ways to get into it in most of the cases. So just keep that in mind. But the trend lines are going to keep you on the right side, and you really got to keep looking for with trade entries until you get that break, and then a retest. And usually it's going to be 2 new legs. Not always. Just like this trend line coming up through here, we had the break, we had 1 leg, and then we had a second leg, but it wasn't measured. It couldn't go that. It just couldn't muster it up, and it sold off. But here you got the break, and you had 2 legs down to a new low, and then you kind of went into this. There just wasn't any buying going on, and sometimes that's all the correction you'll get is a trading range, and then the sell-off will continue again. But today, we had our correction, and it turned into a reversal, and we went higher. And again, I believe it's just a bigger channel, because there's your lows down here. You drag that up, and it gets you right where your reversal happened this afternoon. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Hope you're having a great new year. And I'll be back maybe tomorrow and Friday, but definitely we'll start back Monday next week full time. This is Mac. I'll see you next time.